I give it to you raw, you know?
Hit a beat, G.
Alright, so you're hungry and you want to make something. Or maybe you don't want to make something, but you're sick of getting McDonald's for the third time in a week. Or maybe you just want to try something new that you haven't done before. Well, here's a quick, easy, and pretty cheap recipe for your brain to feed your mouth. Welcome to Effortless Eats. Today, we're just gonna make a dish I kind of threw together one day. I like to call it coconut fried rice due to the fact that it's coconut milk and fried rice thrown together. Makes sense if you ask me. So first, the last part of coconut fried rice, the rice. I like to wash my rice first. Not because there's literal dirt or anything, but because it helps to keep the grains separated. I tend to use short grain sushi rice just because that's what I usually get. Honestly though, I might switch to a jasmine or a basmati. Currently the short grain clumps up a little bit more than I'd like. I like to do a 1-to-1 ratio of the rice and water, and I tend to let it soak for at least 10 minutes before I start cooking the rice. I don't know if this really does anything for the rice, but it makes me feel like I'm making good rice and it absorbs the water more. Next, cutting the various accoutrements or dish. What do I even bother? I love scallions. I think they're welcome in any dish, and they can be used all the goddamn time. Plus, the great thing is that you can use the whole scallion for different things. The white and lighter green bits are similar to onion, but easier to cut than an onion. I hate cutting onions. It's so difficult and it takes too long. And the darker green top bits are great when thinly sliced and used as a topping. It gives it that nice, fresh, oniony bite. You can also cut them diagonally for a fancy looking topping if you feel like going that extra step. And they're like $1 a bundle, so they're super cheap, and you can literally just buy them, buy 5 bundles and then just add them to various dishes as you go. And watch this right here. Watch this. I f***ed up. I put the topping scallions in the same bowl as the other scallions, and that was just definitely not the right move. You want to try and keep them separated because the darker green scallions tend to lose their flavor when they're put into the whole stir fry, but it's fine. It's not like it's going to be the worst thing in the world, but yeah. I also did some jalapenos for a bit of heat. I like doing that. I like a little bit of heat, and I like the flavor of jalapenos. And sometimes I'll do bell peppers, but I didn't really feel like that today. And honestly, you could just throw in a lot of different things into here. I know bean sprouts would work pretty well, I would imagine. Really just or even onions with fresh garlic, all of this stuff you could probably add into this. You do whatever you want with your meal and make something that you think is going to taste good. And I think scallions and jalapenos work really well with the rice and coconut milk, so that's what I went for. But you do you. I'm not your mom. Speaking of coconut milk, time to make the sauce. I did just a can of coconut milk, just one. That's plenty for this kind of meal. And for whatever reason, this can was just super separated. I usually try to shake the can to keep it from coming out separated like that, but it happens from time to time. Just no worries, we can whisk that out. And next I like a little bit of rice vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar if you have a preferred kind of vinegar. You got some fancy vinegar or whatever, use that, but I like the flavor of rice vinegar. After that I do soy sauce. What I just showed you doesn't look like soy sauce, that's because it isn't. I have soy-free soy sauce because that's what my partner needs because they can't have soy. Not super allergic, but that's whatever. Tastes pretty similar, so it doesn't really affect the flavor that much. Then I do a bit of gochujang. What are you doing, girl? Ruby, get the God. Then I like to do a bit of gochujang. Jesus Christ. Then I like to do a bit of gochujang for some flavor and spice. Mirin for some sweetness and depth of flavor, and some. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that.
Sambal Olek.
I'll put the words on the screen. I like to add that because I think it's really neat. It's kind of a less fermented gochujang, but I think it tastes great, so I like to add it. This stuff is up to you, so throw whatever you like in there. I tend to do whatever. You probably do some sake. I think that would work really well with this kind of meal. Yeah. Just make sure you keep tasting it to make sure it actually tastes good. For example, I gave this thing a try and realized that adding some maple syrup would be great for it. So I did that. Don't be afraid to add some things to your dish that you don't know if it'll work. You won't know until you try it, so give it a try. Alright, you cannot forget the egg. Unless you're vegan, in which case you could probably skip it out. Or use the just egg soy eggs. Those are really good, especially if you have an egg allergy as well. I like adding the egg because it adds this really nice pillowy texture that really contrasts with the more solid parts of the dish, like the protein and stuff like that. But that's just me. Honestly, you could probably skip it, but I think it's a signature part of fried rice. Very simple. Everybody knows how to mix up an egg. Get a fork, put it in a bowl, mix it up. I like to add salt though, because the salt helps break down the proteins, or at least that's what I've heard from other cooking YouTubers who are much more knowledgeable than me, so I'm going to take their word for it. Alright, next is protein. For this meal, I like to do chicken, something refreshing to match the coconut milk. Tofu would work well for vegans, maybe shrimp. I don't think beef works here. It's just too heavy for the coconut and too overpowering, and it doesn't mesh well with the flavors. But I'm also, if you want to do it, just do it. If you like the beef flavor, I certainly do. I probably will make a version with the beef at some point because I just want some beef. The way I like to cut my chicken, I learned when I worked at a sushi restaurant. I was a dishwasher, but they still had me cut chicken on occasion because they didn't care. It's I don't know how to explain it, but it's you cut at a very, very deep angle. A very deep angle, and compared to straight up and down. So rather than 90 degree, your knife is going straight down. You cut where your knife is 15 degrees from the ground. It's a very, very shallow angle, and you kind of cut so rather than cutting straight on the chicken, you kind of shave pieces off in different directions, and then you it's so difficult to explain, but that's just how I do it, and it gets these really uneven pieces that look amazing in stir fry, and I love doing it like that. It's just I'm glad that they taught me that, despite the fact that they overworked me. So now let's actually cook this thing. I like using a wok to cook this. It just heats up quickly, but honestly any large pan would be fine. I've been getting a lot of stickage from my wok lately, so I might switch to another more non-stick pan, but maybe I just need to give it another coat of seasoning. The two big requirements to cook this is high heat and oil in the pan. Best way to do this is serving my serving, so this is only going to take about 3 minutes when you get started. I like to pre-portion my chicken and have it laid out into neat little piles on the cutting board, rather than putting it into a bowl or anything like that. It just makes it easier for me to portion it out and get ready to go. So first, I'm gonna put some oil into the pan. Put a good amount, nice layer, nothing deep, you're not deep frying or anything, but enough that stuff won't stick, Then, once the oil is getting to that point where it's smoking a little bit, you're gonna wanna salt your chicken and then throw it in. And not literally throw it in, try to drop it in gently, but because if you throw it in, you're going to get oil all over you, and that's going to be very, very painful, especially since it's hot. So get your chicken in, go wash your hands real quick, and you want to make your chicken out on one layer. You want to have it all on one side, one layer, super flat, because then it's going to get really crispy on the bottom, which is what we want. We want that nice crispy stir-fried chicken. After about probably 30 seconds, you're going to throw in your veggies. You wait so your veggies don't get overcooked or your chicken doesn't get undercooked. Chicken will still look pink on the top, and that's fine. It's still going to get cooked. And just let that cook for a little bit, and then put everything to one side of the pan. And if you're doing egg, pour in your egg. Let that cook for a bit, and once it just starts to form, scrape it up in one direction. This creates these really thin sheets of egg. It tastes really good in my opinion. At this point, I like to toss everything together and get it all mixed up. If you can't toss, that's fine. Just mix it up all good. Or maybe try a toss or two. If you mess up, that's okay. Messing up is the first step to being successful. After the veggies have been in for a while and the chicken starts looking white, add the rice and mix it all up. Give it a nice tossy toss. Give it a mixy mix. And let it get nice and toasty. You want to get some of that really nice like fried rice toasted flavor, but be careful that your rice doesn't get stuck to the pan. That's what I'm talking about when I was talking about the wok getting all non-stick. After 30 seconds, you're going to want to add the sauce. Add as much as you want. I like to think a little less than you think. And then adjust afterwards. If you put too much, just let it cook longer to boil some of it off. Finally, plate it up and add the talking scallions. Then, force your roommate to eat it on camera and approve of the dish.